Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 13 Principles of an Effective Salesperson. Right now we're going to continue on with principle number 7. They will only be half as excited as you are. Now we talked previously about emotional selling. That one of the big points is that you need to appeal to their emotions and get them excited and hopeful for what your product is going to do for them in the future, how it's going to better their life. Well, there's some tricks that you need to use in order to effectively use that principle in your sales. Now, the big thing is to help people feel that emotion. Okay? You've got to be able to help them feel it in order to emotionally sell. And our last principle was about that how people buy because of their emotions. So how do you get them to feel those emotions? You're there, you're trying to get them excited about the product, what it's going to do, instead of being afraid of how they're going to miss out of all the things they won't be able to do, what's going to happen if they get in a car accident, things like that. How do you get them to feel that emotion? Well, you've got to feel it yourself first. That's the way it works. You have to feel it yourself. So, have you ever watched a great public speaker or performer? Gone and seen a concert? Does the speaker or the performer just sit there calmly and just kind of relaxed? Generally not. Not unless that's a specific type of music it is, or a specific type of speaker they are. But generally, most of the best public speakers are not that way at all. They come out excited. They're jumping around. They're yelling. That excitement that they have, that feeds the crowd. The crowd feels that emotion. There's a lot of times, if you've ever been to a concert, that in order to help build that emotion before the performer even gets out there, they'll have a warm-up band or a couple of warm-up bands. They'll have some fireworks go off. They'll have a laser show. They'll do whatever it takes to get that emotion started. But then when the performer comes out, they've got to have that emotion too. They've got to bring that emotion to the crowd. This is the same for any sales presentation. Unless you're going to have someone prime the customer for you before they come to you, you have to be the one to bring the energy to the presentation. You've got to be the one to act super excited about what you have to offer. So everyone deals with emotions differently. But no matter who you are, your emotions can be a very personal thing. The way that you feel, the way that you interpret your emotions, it's very personal. And a lot of people get very nervous, okay? They get nervous about their emotions. I mean, you wouldn't go tell your deepest emotions to just anybody. You need to feel safe. You need to feel that this is a place where you can share those emotions about yourself. So many people are very guarded about even getting emotional, even showing any amount of emotion. This is especially true of a lot of men. A lot of men, unless it's specific emotions, they're very guarded about showing them. So if you want them to become emotional, you have to go there first. I love the analogy of high school dances, or dances when I was young. Because a lot of times, I don't know if your schools were this way, but for mine, it always started out the night with everyone sitting on the edges or standing on the edges. No one's in the middle of the dance floor. The music's playing, no one's dancing. If you haven't experienced this, I'm sure you've seen it in a movie. So you get there, no one's dancing. What do you do? What does it take to change things up, to break this up and get people out there dancing? Well, someone has to go first. Someone's got to go out there first and start dancing, to not be scared, to show, hey, it's all right. And guess what? If you come out here and dance too, no one's going to laugh at you because they're still looking at me. See, someone needs to go first and have the courage to go there before anyone else is going to follow. Now, once someone gets out there and starts dancing and people start seeing them having a little bit of fun, then a couple other people will come, and then there's some more dancing. And then once there's enough people dancing out there that no one's going to notice you and how badly you dance, then everyone's going to be willing to go out there if they're going to dance at all. Same is true with your sales. If you want the emotion of your sales, if it's about getting excited, you've got to be excited first. However, when people are attending a performance, they always base their actions off of the person in the front and how they act. If you go to a church and the speaker there is very solemn and very serious and very, a term oftentimes used in religion is reverent, well, then that's the response they're going to get from their audience. If, on the other hand, you're going to a Southern Baptist church and they're crying, "Can you give me an amen and a hallelujah?" and people are calling out, people are going to follow that example in how they interact in the church. If you want your customers to become emotional about the product you're selling, you need to get emotional about it first. If you want that to be excitement, you got to get excited first. Now, some people are very comfortable with getting emotional, and those are much easier to sell. If they're very excitable, you'll get them excited real easy, overcome those negative emotions. That'll be a much easier sell. But if they're not, if they're very hesitant about getting emotional, they don't want to show that emotion, that vulnerability, it becomes a lot harder. It can be very difficult. Not only will they wait for you, but they're also going to limit their emotional investment. I mean, let's take that dance floor example again. Maybe the guy and girl who go out there at the very beginning and start dancing, they're awesome dancers and they're just tearing up the floor. And so because they're out there and then some more people come, you finally get up the courage to go out on the dance floor. But you aren't quite brave enough to try and pull off those dance moves. You're instead are going to settle yourself with a nice shuffle. You're going to just shuffle because you feel comfortable shuffling. Well, you got them on the dance floor. That's what's important. But they're not going to be out there pulling Saturday Night Fever. They're going to be out there pulling the shuffle. You got to be okay with their shuffle. Okay? And as they're I guess you could call them your dance partner in this case, you got to make sure that you don't go too over the top. Okay? You need to lead the way by being more than they are, but don't be too emotional if they aren't willing to go there with you. But are you willing to be crazy emotional? Then the person you're talking to will be more comfortable expressing themselves. If you're willing to share very personal stories, then maybe they will. I did this quite a bit when I had individuals. I was selling timeshare, vacation time, and when they wouldn't share with me their vacations, I'd share with them one of mine. I'd share with them one of mine, and one of mine that was maybe very meaningful to me. And you'd be amazed how all of a sudden they're willing to share about their meaningful experiences and vacations because I went there first. Now, there are exceptions to these rules. Some are uncomfortable with emotions that even your emotions will make them uncomfortable. Talked about the guy before doing the shuffle. Well, if he's sitting there doing the shuffle, okay, and you're doing interpretive dance and you're his dance partner, you're going to make him uncomfortable and he's leaving the dance floor, okay? In those cases, you got to tone it down a little bit. Remember, in this dance of the sale, you're their partner. You've got to gradually add more emotion. Get them out there shuffling, then maybe get them to do a spin, then maybe get them to do something a little bit more. Slowly coax those emotions out of them. Be careful. You don't want to give it too much or they'll feel uncomfortable and they'll just leave. I've had some of those to where I'm going in there, I'm really excited and I'm all excited about the product and it's going to change their lives. And they're like, wow, you're really emotional about this. I'm like, yeah, I think this is awesome. I'm like, well, okay. I got to go. I'm like, what? But I was like, I'm excited. You should be excited. Well, they were uncomfortable with my excited. If you give too little, then they won't be emotionally invested enough. And then you leave everything up to logic. And you just have to hope that they aren't scared of change. Because everyone feels, even if they don't show it. And if you can't guide those emotions regarding your product, then you're at a major disadvantage. Okay? So don't give too much, but don't give too little. It kind of makes it hard for you, doesn't it? Well, Here's the rule of thumb. Good rule of thumb for you is always act twice as excited about the product as you would want them to be. And then if they start to act uncomfortable about that, tone it down and be twice as excited as they are. Be twice as excited as they are. And then as they get a little bit more excited, as they come up to meet you a little bit, keep upping your excitement until it reaches being twice as excited about the product as you want them to be. Okay? But start out at that high. One guy I knew who was an amazing salesman. He was an amazing salesman. We were selling Vacation Time. But he was a loud, excited guy. He was the life of the party and the loudest guy in the room. He was a Latin guy, a Cuban with a lot of energy. And he was amazing at selling because he got on that phone and he was excited. And then person got excited about their vacations. And then they were excited together. And then he got them to tell this story about how awesome these vacations were going to be for them. And he's like, awesome, so let's get you set up. And they're like, yeah, because I'm excited now. And he was amazing at that. Because he was twice as excited from the get-go as he wanted them to be. Now, I do have to throw in one caveat here. Sometimes, depending on your product, excitement is not the right emotion. Let's say, for example, that you are selling funeral plots. I don't think that the emotion of excitement, yay, they're dead, is going to go over well. In those instances, the emotion is caring. It is a solemn occasion. It's caring for the family and caring and you want to make sure that this is the best possible experience it can be and memorable for them, leaving them with a great memory to return to again and again of this person that they've lost. You see, I am so caring in my tone. Twice as caring about them and their experience as they probably are. They're probably in a bit of shock. So I'm going to sound overly caring. You need to make the emotion fit the product. Most products, excitement works. For most products. Some products, it doesn't quite work. If you're trying to, sell something that requires a lot of, more of a solemn occasion, it's not something to be necessarily so excited about, maybe switch up the emotion. But always be twice as emotional about the product as you want them to be. Because that's going to help them become emotional. And then once they're emotional, you can then build that story with them and emotionally sell them on the product. And once they're emotionally sold, if you've done number 2 of the principles and you know the benefits and the cost, selling to their brain then is really easy once you've sold to their emotions.